Hello everyone, I'm Watson, and this video is a recommendation for PoE switches. You can see it as an inclusive buying guide and some things about its applications. So basically there are a lot of kind of PoE switches in the market, and the PoE switch is a device that helps us exchange the data and pack it up and transmit it to another device. So basically it helps us gather all the data from the IP devices connected to the network. It's a really important part in the network that has multiple IP devices. And the PoE stands for the Power over Ethernet, meaning that this device is PoE enabled, which allows the power and data transmit through a single Ethernet cable. So in a PoE system, it will help us reduce almost like half of the budget for like electric cables and electric outlets, and we can save a lot of time as well. So this video, I'm going to introduce you to a few couple PoE switches. The first one is going to be a normal PoE switch with unmanaged features, meaning that it can just be a plug-and-play device. Then we're going to talk about a managed PoE switch. After a managed PoE switch, we're going to talk about something called a high-power PoE switch. And after a high-power PoE switch, we're going to take a look at something called an ultra-long-distance PoE switch. And finally, we're going to take a look at something that we categorize as an industrial level PoE switch. So first, the normal PoE switch, which is an unmanaged PoE switch. This little box right here, you can see the size is really small compared to all of these on the table. And it has 4 ports right here and 2 ports right here. They're divided into 2 groups. These 4 ports are PoE ports. They connect to IP devices, provide power and data, and also receives the data transmitted back. These 2 are uplink ports. They don't have PoE features, but they transmit the data faster than these ports, because usually they only transmit data back to another device, and the other device usually doesn't have to be PoE enabled, such as a network video recorder or the internet. And also you can see the metal casing will help it release heat more efficiently, has a power supply built in, so all we need to do is connect it to the electric outlets. And this one, an unmanaged PoE switch, means after we get it, all we need to do is plug the Ethernet cables in the correct place, IP device to these PoE ports, and the network video recorder or the internet to the uplink ports, and this whole network system will be set. So that's an unmanaged PoE switch. Then it's the managed PoE switch. This one back here, this is our 8-port high-power managed PoE switch. We're going to talk about the managed features. The managed features gives us more management for us. So we can kind of customize this whole network. We can use a few of these ports with more network speed or higher quality of service. So when it comes to like a lot of traffic in the internet, we can prioritize some devices first. And also, these are more used in businesses because they have a feature called VLAN, a virtual local area network. This means if you think of all the IP devices in a big room, which is our network, if we want to make it more tidy and keep track of each individual or each part, each department in the business, in our company, a VLAN will help us divide all the users, all the IP devices connected in the network into the ones we want, like a financial department, commercials, or executives or administrations, and sometimes some for the CEOs. So a managed PoE switch gives us more opportunities to design the network the way we want. And it gives it more security, because you don't want the wrong person wandering around the wrong network. And sometimes if we don't use VLAN, once there is troubleshoot in the network, the whole system will go down. But in the VLAN, which part receives that troubleshoot, it only affects that department. So a managed PoE switch, you can think of that, it helps us manage the whole network more efficiently. So after the managed PoE switch, we're going to talk about the high power. The high power PoE switch is a device with PoE++. PoE switches usually are categorized by the power output to PoE, PoE+, PoE++. PoE grade is the most basic one. It only outputs like around 13 watts of power. And when it goes to PoE++, it goes to 26. Once it reaches PoE++, it can release us about 60 watts. And with some specially designed PoE switches, you can go all the way up to 95 watts. So you can see right here, this PoE switch has PoE++ here, and it's also known as PoE BT. So now let's take a look at the high power PoE switches. The high power PoE switches are any kind of PoE switches, managed, unmanaged, with its PoE switch designed to output a power grade at PoE++. So the power output are usually categorized into PoE, PoE+, PoE++. PoE is the most basic power output, usually around 13 watts. PoE Plus goes to 26. And when we have a PoE++ PoE switch, it will help us release up to 60 watts. Some devices even go all the way up to 95 watts. And you have to look carefully like what's the maximum power output for that device. And these devices can help us connect to power-hungry devices. Some PoE IP devices require a lot of power, and if you have a PoE switch that cannot provide enough power, it will just keep rebooting, and it would never work properly. And you can see right here, this PoE Managed Switch is a PoE++ device. Right here, it says it complies to the PoE 802.3 BT protocol. This protocol provides us PoE++ power release, and right here you can see in the front panel right here, these 4 ports are circled with a reddish marker marked PoE++. So these 4 ports right here are the ports that will release a minimum of 60 watts of power. So make sure when we use this in our system, we have to know that we connect the correct IP devices to the correct PoE ports. So after we talked about high power PoE devices, now let's talk about the ultra long distance PoE device. So an ultra long distance PoE switch is the one I have right here. You can see at the bottom it says ultra long distance PoE switch. It has indicators in the front letting us to monitor the status of each port. And it has 8 ports as well, and 4 of these ports, the 4 ports right here with the green label, means these 4 ports can transmit the data to an ultra long distance. So usually a PoE signal can travel 100 meters maximum. After that we have to repeat it and repeat it. And if we use like PoE extenders, the signal only goes to like 500 meters and it kind of decays too much. But if we want to reach the maximum for a PoE transmission, we have to use a device like this. It can help us enhance the PoE signal transmitted right here, and it can go all the way to 800 meters. On the other hand, on the other end, you're going to need a PoE receiver to help us receive that strong signal and then transmit it to our IP device. In our next videos, we're going to talk about how to use that to expand a long distance PoE IP camera. So 2 uplink ports right here, the same features, no PoE enabled, but it can connect to like network video cords or the internet to transmit data that are received from the IP devices faster, and also power supply built in. So basically like all the other normal PoE switches. All right, the last one we're going to talk about is the industrial PoE switch. This is a PoE switch which has 4 ports and 2 SFP module ports. SFP is, we're going to talk about it shortly. These 4 ports are basic PoE ports. It's nothing different from like a PoE switch, but the material we use and the program to do, it helps us let this PoE switch stand in hard environments. So sometimes like these PoE switches right here, they're more of a commercial use. The components don't stand a wide temperature range that much. These usually go to from -10 to 40 degrees Celsius, and if we let it overheat, we're going to suffer from data loss, package loss, and sometimes it will just damage the device directly. But with this one, it has the inside components attached to the metal casing directly, so that it will help us release the heat more efficiently. And also the power supply is like this. It is separate from our whole PoE switch. This means when we have a voltage change, a voltage drop, the energy released will heat up this PoE switch. It will be separated next to the PoE switch and then provide the power at the current voltage to our PoE switch. So this is like much more ideal device to leave like outdoors, or sometimes when we're in a very hard environment when it gets too cold or too hot, an industrial grade PoE switch will be the best choice. These will be damaged very easily. And the SFP modules are just the way for us to transmit the data. SFP modules means it's capable of fiber optic link, and fiber optic link transmits more faster and further. We're going to talk about it in the future, and that's pretty much it for the industrial level too. Oh, and it also has DIN rail parts, so we can attach it on a DIN rail, which will make our whole system setup more tightly and neatly. All right, that's pretty much it for this video, and at the end we're going to connect our PoE IP PTZ camera right here to our NVR right here. So it's like a really basic PoE IP camera system setup. All right, so now let's take our PoE switches, and we're going to just use the very basic normal PoE switch. We're going to need the power for it. So power right here, connected, and then one Ethernet cable to connect the switch to our IP camera here. So once we connect, we're going to see our PTZ camera turn on. It's doing the self-diagnosis right now, and at this moment we're going to connect our PoE switch to our NVR with another Ethernet cable. So shortly we're going to have an image on our screen, and then we can see our camera. Okay, so now the image is on the monitor right here. I'm going to wave my hand to let you guys see this is a real-time video feed, and that means our setup is successful. All right, that's the end of this video. If you guys have any more questions about PoE switches, feel free to leave them at the section below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.